What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well, having a good Thursday. It is match day, of course. Fenerbahce versus Manchester United this evening in the Europa League. But before then, we've got plenty to discuss and get into. Jose Mourinho, a former Manchester United manager, has backed Erik ten Hag in a pretty box office presser that we're going to be chatting about. Flex, he's been hella busy out there in Turkey. My goodness me. He's been talking to Christian Eriksen. We'll be talking about what Christian Eriksen has had to say. Of course, he was with Erik ten Hag in the press conference yesterday evening, talking about his future, tactics and things of that nature. We'll just chat about how we're going to be feeling about the game this evening, and also be talking about anything else that happens in the next hour or so whilst we're live, because that's the beauty indeed of being live, isn't it? Indeed. Lots of people already in the chat, lots of people getting involved. Be sure to get your chats in be sure to get your memberships in, be sure to get your super chats in. We got a lot to talk about this morning, but first, before we get into any of that, this message from me again, but this time about Omely. What's going on, guys? This show is powered by Omely, the ultimate platform where real fans connect, debate, and shape the football conversation in real time. Whether you want to host a live show, jump in as a guest, or just listen in, Omely is the place to be. It's a great app where you guys get to debate and chat with your favorite influencers, host your own audio shows, listen in, and chat with us too. Basically, have your own audio podcast. All you have to do is download the Omely app. Sign up is really easy and quick, and the cherry on top is you get to create your own AI avatar. We've all done it by uploading a picture. You actually get some pretty hilarious results. Mine is a mixture of Harry Kane and a baby David Brent. It's audio only, so it's super easy to use. There's also a unique scoring system, so the more you engage on the app, the higher you can climb the ranks as well. And guess what? We'll be going live on Saturday with Flex and Nicky Hawkins from West Ham Fan TV, previewing Sunday's clash at the London Stadium. Just search for and follow the United View channel. Join that live show, vote for the best debate, and you can join in and talk too. So click the link in the description or scan the QR code to download the Omely app, where fans like you and me shape each conversation. We'll see you there. We'll see you there indeed. So as I mentioned, you can download the Omely app. Links in the video description. It's also pinned in the chat. You can scan the QR code, and as you can see right there on the sidebar, Saturday there is going to be a debate between Nicky Hawkins outside London and West Ham Fan TV and Flex discussing the game at the weekend. But before we even get to the weekend, we've got to talk about first Fenerbahce. We've got to talk about Fenerbahce this evening, the Europa League. How are we all feeling? Are we excited? Are we getting those match day jitters or match day excitement part of it? Is that how we're feeling today? I mentioned before, I'm actually really looking forward to this game this evening. I think the stories there with Jose, I've seen Sofyan Amrabat's been talking this morning. Fred, of course, former Manchester United player. It feels like, to be honest with you, Fenerbahce is like Premier League. It's like going back in time, because the amount of ex-Premier League players they have in their team is kind of odd. You got Jose, you've got, obviously, as the manager, you got Fred, you got Amrabat, you got Dzeko, you got Sam Maximan, who actually got Tadic. You got a bunch of Premier League players. You got to tell you what, if it was 10 years ago, that team would be bloody good. Really, really good. But Jose yesterday was getting the attention and had the spotlight of the British press on him, which of course he loves. So he did a performance for them all, and he was peak Jose Mourinho, in which he backed the Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag, and also possibly played some mind games in the process. Here's what Jose Mourinho had to say. He said, quote, "I am not the coach of Manchester United, and I don't see any reason for Manchester United to be afraid of Fenerbahce, but if they think it will be easy, it would be the wrong approach. I think they will come with maximum strength. That's what I would do." He then continued on by saying, when asked about his Manchester United exit, if they'd improved since he left as the manager, etc., he said, "I didn't lose 1 minute thinking about it. I left Manchester United with a good feeling for the club and the fans. If things aren't going well for them, that doesn't make me happy. As you know, we won the Europa League. We finished second in the Premier League. I think we still have a chance to win that league. If they punish Man City, then they have to pay me the bonus and give me the money, 115 charges." He also, though, backed Erik ten Hag by saying, what's important to me is they, Manchester United, keep the faith in the coach because that gives stability. Now, when asked once again, why are you saying these things that, Manchester United should not be afraid of Fenerbahce, or, suggesting that it's not going to be too much of a difficult game or anything like that, Jose said, maybe you think I am bluffing or playing mind games. They have a better team than the results show. We watch everything. Their work is there. And sooner or later, they will succeed. Hopefully sooner and hopefully before I go back to the Premier League. Now, it's peak Jose, isn't it? It's peak Jose. It's peak Mourinho, which is, it's mind games. That's what it's the same as he kind of references it in the whole, I might win that league. My greatest accomplishment is finishing second with Manchester United, and it's all about him, isn't it? Because he's already setting it up that if he does win, if Fenerbahce do win tonight, it's not because Fenerbahce are good, it's because Jose Mourinho is great, isn't it? That's kind of what the situation is. So I also got the impression too, listening to him there, and when I watched the footage back, I thought, and maybe I'm wrong here, I know that already there's some pressure on him in Turkey with Fenerbahce, but I kind of was getting the impression, I was like, I don't think he wants to be there. I thought, he was sat in this tiny press room talking about, how much he's talking to the British journalist how much he likes them and saying all this stuff. And I thought, he wants to be back in the Premier League, doesn't he? He wants to be back in the Premier League. He wants that kind of spotlight. He wants that. He's performing. That's what it is. That's what he was doing. So, yeah, I mean, this is typical Jose. As far as the backing of Erik ten Hag, no manager would ever call for another manager to be sacked, so I don't look too far into that one. But if I was a Fenerbahce fan, I'd be like, you're basically going to this press conference being like, we're shit. We're rubbish. But yeah, it's peak Jose Mourinho. As I mentioned, these Sofyan Amrabat quotes are sort of just coming out as well. Quite interesting with what he's saying too. And by the way, whenever you want to go and find them on these websites, Jesus, you have to go through some ads. My goodness me. So he has implied, Sofyan Amrabat, that technical director of Manchester United, Jason Wilcox, scuppered his hopes of returning to Manchester United on a permanent deal in the summer. Of course, Amrabat, 28, spent last season on loan at Old Trafford from Fiorentina, racked up 30 appearances across all competitions. Of course, he played in the FA Cup final victory over Manchester City. In the immediate aftermath of the 2-1 victory over City, Amrabat expressed his desire to join Manchester United on a permanent basis, and it had been reported that throughout the summer he had not trained with Fiorentina in a bid to try and push for a return to Manchester United. Ahead of this evening's game, though, in Istanbul, Amrabat has revealed Erik ten Hag was keen to bring him back to Old Trafford, suggesting that Jason Wilcox overruled the United manager. He said, quotes, I have a special relationship with Erik ten Hag since I was 20 years old at Utrecht, Amrabat told the Mail. He wanted to keep me this summer, so I wished him the best, but not for Thursday. I hope they lose. Asked why he did not seal a permanent switch to Old Trafford in the summer, Amrabat added, quote, the only thing that I want to say is that you have to ask Mr. Wilcox. Very interesting. I hope what we don't do with all of this is what we do with a lot of players when they leave, and which is basically, we effed up. We effed up that we didn't get Sofyan Amrabat. Look, Sofyan Amrabat in the FA Cup final was brilliant for Manchester United. I think if you looked overall, was he really at the level? Was he really good enough? I think what is interesting is that adds a lot more fuel to the fire about this whole, all right then, so who's actually in control of signing players now? Because we had heard over the summer, hadn't we? We had heard over the summer about, nothing's really changed in terms of Erik ten Hag's recruitment powers. He still has the veto. He still is very involved with the signings that Manchester United are making, etc., etc. Then we hear other reports that are like, well, no, mainly Dan Ashworth now. He's leading that charge. He's getting that done. You've also got Christopher Vavell, Jason Wilcox to a lesser extent. I'm assuming that this would probably have been before Dan Ashworth had actually come into post, because the Amrabat one I would think was maybe a little bit before Dan Ashworth had actually come in, but timelines and all that. So it raises the question. And also, it then poses the question, is this maybe why Erik ten Hag's not really that pleased with Ugarte as well? Because you've got people within the club going, we want to sign Manuel Ugarte. We want to, we think he's a good option, and we want to get him in. And then you've got Erik ten Hag's like, I wanted Amrabat instead. Erik ten Hag's taken a couple of looks at Ugarte and gone, no, thank you. I don't like him. Oh, I'd have been playing Amrabat more. So if that is true from Sofyan Amrabat, that suggests a whole lot more friction, doesn't it? That suggests a whole lot more friction there, and a lot more. Again, is everyone really on the same page then when it comes to that? Now, look, that could just be Sofyan Amrabat having sour grapes. Sometimes it's a case of like, you have to have a fall guy in certain situations, right? Do you have any evidence that it was Jason Wilcox that was the person who decided that you weren't going to be rejoining Manchester United? Well, I bet it was him. I bet it was him, or he might have delivered the news. I don't know. When you leave it open as, the only thing I want to say is you have to ask Mr. Wilcox, well, then that's going to drive people into a frenzy, because it's very vague, isn't it? It's very, very vague. Because it might be a case of Jason Wilcox deliver the news and we're not going to, trigger the option. It might have been a unanimous decision, right? It might have been a unanimous decision of we don't think, or something certainly that Ten Hag didn't veto, was the Amrabat Hill one that Erik ten Hag was willing to die on. Clearly not. As far as this evening, he's got a point to prove, doesn't he? Sofyan Amrabat, he's got a point to prove. And look, the thing is with Sofyan Amrabat, his Manchester United career was such an interesting one, because we thought, didn't we, that we were going to be getting the Amrabat that clip, basically, from the World Cup, the one running down, chasing down Kylian Mbappe and what have you. I feel for him to an extent, in the sense that he came in at United. He's playing left back for a bit, inverted left back, and then he's in and out of the side. I think there was a misconception that he was always injured, or he was injured a bit, but he really wasn't. He wasn't injured that often. He just, again, by the manager, was not really played all the time. And only right towards the end of the season that he started to play, and he was good. And then the problem is with that, well, what do you do then? What do you do with a player that has been available, but you decided not to pick him for a large portion of the season? You decided we're not going to pick him. Right at the end of the season, he starts playing well in some big games, obviously. That's a really difficult decision to make, a really difficult one. And then if you've got people above you, from Erik ten Hag's perspective, going, well, you didn't really fancy him all season, and now you do want to keep him. We think we can get another deal done. All right. And what I would also say to this is those that don't like Scott McTominay, right? Because it had been put out there, hadn't it, that we had to sell McTominay to sign Ugarte, essentially. If we did sign Amrabat, the chances are then, would we have kept McTominay? And would we have really been happy with that? Really? Those same people that are saying, we should have kept Amrabat, blah blah blah. If our sort of summer midfield signings was we re-signed Amrabat and we kept McTominay, you'd be going mental, like proper mental, going, this is the problem with Ineos. This is the issue. Blah 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 blah. So I don't know. I think it's clearly he's very pissed off, because he did everything he could to join Manchester United last season. In the summer, he didn't train all summer to force through a loan move. This season he tried it again, and Manchester United weren't interested. But is it really something like I'm looking at Manchester United going, you really, really effed up by not keeping Sofian Amrabat? The Ugarte one I think is really interesting because, the same I think narrative about, while it's very difficult to judge Amrabat, he didn't really get a chance. But you look at Manuel Ugarte, he's played a couple of games for Man United, and already he's been written off as he's absolutely rubbish, he's awful. Amrabat's better. Do we even really know that? I don't know if I've seen Ugarte play enough to suggest that he would be better or not than Amrabat, So it's an interesting one. I think I don't really look at it more as, it's terrible that he's not here. I think the more interesting point of what he's saying there is that maybe they ain't all on the same page. And when it comes to some of those decisions in the summer, maybe there were some that, Erik ten Hag wasn't happy with and got overruled by Ineos or by those people above him. But is that necessarily a shocking story? Not really, no. I would also think that probably happens quite a bit, really. You have to remember, Erik ten Hag's a manager that they're not exactly on the same page, because when they decided to keep him in the summer and extend his contract, the general consensus by all parties was, well, we're not going to give you a new restructured contract. That's too complicated. We'll see how things go. So it's not exactly on the same page anyway, is it? So I don't know if that's totally shocking. And like I said before, it's almost like is the Amrabat hill the one you're willing to die on? Probably not. Probably not. So it's just extra drama, isn't it, really? It's just extra drama. MA says, so this is ridiculous. Ugarte could be the worst side in the club's history. The guy is not even... he's been here a couple of months. If you want... If you're going to say that in a year's time, 18 months' time, cool. But no, we can't say that now. We've barely seen him play. He's been... How many starts has he had for Manchester United? Like 1 or 2? How many total minutes? We don't know. To say that he's been the worst, he could be the worst signing ever. He's not had a good start. He's not had a good start. I'll give you that. But my goodness me, like that is where we do need to calm down. What was it? Players, managers. Give them a couple of seasons, then see. And if you're going to look at like worst signings ever at Manchester United, it's pretty difficult to beat. You've got Antony, 100 million euros. You've got Mason Mount, who is, as time's going on, it's just aging worse and worse and worse. And look, when it comes to Ugarte, maybe in a year's time, 18 months time, he still wouldn't have played any games, and we'll be like, it is, then it's terrible. You've also got to compete with your Bebes, your Jembas, David Bellion, Kleberson. I could go on. There is a bunch of, they're kind of historic, aren't they? The sort of Sir Alex Ferguson, mid 2000s random people that played a couple of games and never came back. Morgan Schneiderlin as well. My goodness me. So. Yeah, after a couple of months, can't be going like, Ugarte's, he could be the worst signing ever. I suppose possibly he could, but we don't know how that's going to play out. As far as the Amrabat stuff the problem is when you do those kind of comments, the only thing I want to say is you have to ask Mr. Wilcox it's a lot of ambiguity, isn't it? And you have to kind of read between the lines when he says stuff like that. And I would think the assumption would be when you say something like that is he is suggesting that Erik ten Hag wanted him, Jason Wilcox didn't, therefore he's not at Manchester United. Instead, he's at Fenerbahce. But at the same time, I would also, when they always say, don't they, it's about where do the players go after they leave Manchester United. The fact, where's he ended up, Amrabat too? He's ended up at Fenerbahce. And I'm saying this, like, Fenerbahce might beat us tonight. I wouldn't even be stunned. But, Fenerbahce might beat us tonight. But, Manchester United do have to kind of be looking for better. Manchester United do have to kind of be looking for more. And And maybe that more and better isn't Manuel Ugarte. Time will tell. But I don't think it was Sofian Amrabat either, in all honesty. And it's funny because the same things where some people are saying about Ugarte, they were saying about Amrabat for a large portion of last season. And also, another thing I would say is, have we not learned our lesson to completely change minds and completely flip the judgment on certain players and people based off an FA Cup final? Because I feel like we've had this conversation quite a bit recently. And I think the same goes for managers and players and lots of other people too. You look at someone like Wan-Bissaka, for example. The uproar when he left in the summer from, certain people. We're not going to get anyone better. You'll see. You'll be laughing, blah, blah, blah. He's in a poor West Ham side at the moment, but it's not as if like turning up trees, Yeah, we do have to be a bit careful, I think, when it comes to that. So, yeah, I think it's interesting. I think, again, the bigger interesting thing about what Amrabat's saying there for me is more, it shines a light on the behind-the-scenes stuff as opposed to the player itself. I think probably people are maybe a bit too hyper-focused on the player in question here about Amrabat. It's more like, actually, what's going on then behind the scenes, or what does really that process kind of like? Jan says, Wan-Bissaka struggling. Again, the Wan-Bissaka stuff in the summer, we saw when Mazraoui literally had a few touches against Fulham in the first game of the season. I went, oh, yeah, there is a bit of a difference there. And it's always the evidence is always about where they go afterwards and what they do afterwards. You credit to someone like a McTominay. He's gone to Napoli, good club, scoring goals, fair play. Maybe his level was a bit higher than people were saying it was. But you get Amrabat, go to Fenerbahce. Yeah. Wan-Bissaka, go to West Ham. It does say a lot, doesn't it? About, some players that we have signed, where they go afterwards and what little they do. There's only a sort of handful of exceptions to that rule, isn't there? You got people like, people like Di Maria, who we hate, but it was never a question of him not being a good player. That's why wherever he went, he did really well. Wherever he went afterwards. Same to an extent with Lukaku, isn't it? Went right for Man United, but still scored goals wherever he went. He did win Serie A with Inter Milan too. But as far as the Amrabat one, again, I'm not completely sold on, that he would have made a huge amount of difference, or in all honesty, for us this season. And this is what does tickle me, because someone the other day was criticizing me for saying, "Oh, you can't handle a rebuild, blah blah blah." But we do talk out of both sides of our mouth, because we call for Manchester United to be ruthless. We call for Manchester United to get rid of players. If they're not good enough, get rid of them, blah 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 blah. And then we also have the sort of parasocial relationship where we don't like to see anyone leave. we don't like to see anyone leave, and then when we do leave, we're obsessed with being, that was a mistake. They shouldn't have let them go. Can't believe we've let this player go. Why have we let this player go? Blah blah blah. And it's always like, maybe they're just not good enough. Maybe they're just not good enough. And that's not to say sometimes that the replacement that you bring in is going to be good enough either. But you got to keep going until you find the right ones, and you've got to be ruthless. That's what it's got to be. You've got to be ruthless. And if you don't find the right players, it's sink or swim. If they sink, sorry, we'll find someone else. And that's not again to necessarily say that Ugarte is going to be way better. We don't know, but I don't think Amrabat was the guy either, in all honesty. So there you go. Those are the Amrabat quotes. If you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well whilst you're at it. Now, we just spoke about Jose Mourinho. You may have seen this last night. If not, we can show it here. Flex is out there in Istanbul by himself. We all mock him for Flecknology. We all mock him for saying these certain things and having these issues with technology. But he is out there, and he was at the Fenerbahce training watching Amrabat and Fred actually yesterday, just after Jose's comments. Here's what he had to say.
He's charming. He's charming. But the players are behind me there. You can just see to the right of me, Fred is just there. Amrabat is in training. Edin Dzeko's there. En Naziri's there as well. They're locked in. There's St. Maximum just behind me there as well. And listen, this is going to be a difficult game, man. They've been talking about how difficult the atmosphere is. We know what it's like. When we was at Galatasaray, it was very much welcome to hell. It's going to be exactly the same here. Jose Mourinho said they need 35,000 fans behind them. And he also said, with a bit of tongue-in-cheek, that Manchester United don't need to be afraid of Fenerbahce. But Jose knows what he's doing, yeah? We haven't travelled well in Europe. We haven't been good in terms of looking to get points away from home in Europe. It hasn't been a good stomping ground for us at all. But maybe now's the time. You know, they're not in a great moment. Yes, they've got a little bit of pressure on them as well. But so have we. Do you know what I mean? What's he going to do in midfield as well with the likes of Ugarte is gone? How's that going to go? And also, you got to look at it from a standpoint of the formation. Yeah, this 4-4-2 that we've been playing, is he going to be able to do it? Is he going to be able to do it with the players that we've got? I can't see Eriksen playing up front with Højlund. I can't see Ahmad coming in. It's got to go back to that 4-2-3-1, surely. I'll fix myself. That's how I see it. I can't see it any other way. And do you know what? Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Just seeing St. Maximum there is just bringing back. Listen, the Wan-Bissaka days. Look at Fred, still small. Go on, Fred. Not tomorrow. But yeah, seeing him back in person is just bringing back those memories of like when Dalot hopefully, because he got cooked actually, to be fair, in the first half against Newcastle United in the Carabao Cup final. But when Wan-Bissaka was locking him up, but we don't have that now. We don't have that option to lock down someone like St. Maximum if he starts. There's no Kostic as well. He did say that he was injured, so you're looking at St. Maximum maybe coming in on one of them wide areas. En Naziri probably be on the bench, but again, the last time we faced him, he absolutely destroyed us with Sevilla. So there's a few stories there. That's the problem. There's a few stories there where you're like, hang on a minute. I can just feel what's around the corner if this doesn't go right. And that's what scares me. That's what scares me. Are we capable? Yes, in spells. I've said that many, many times. There's been so many games where we're capable in spells and we go 2-0 up or we go a goal up in these tough atmospheres. We literally just did it against Porto. There's no change there. So we can score goals, we can play well in moments, but it's the concentration. And when you come to places like Istanbul, when you go to places like Porto, when you go to places, well, we saw against Copenhagen, we saw against Bayern Munich last year, Sevilla a year before that. We've been seeing it. When you go to these European games and you're not on your game for any part of that performance, you can see goals, mate. It's as simple as that. You can see goals. So that's why I can't come in here and be confident, because we haven't really got it like that. Let's be honest. It's good that Mazraoui's back. I think at the back, we're going to have to put probably Dalot left back, and hopefully Mazraoui can come back in. He came off the bench late against Brentford at the weekend. But overall, let's be real. We got a lot of work to do, man. We got a lot of work to do if we want to win this game. I know people can say that, you know, they haven't been great and stuff like that, but every time we think that this team might be starting to turn a corner, we get proved wrong. Do you know what I mean? We get proved wrong. And look, it's only one game against Brentford, so we can't say that we've turned a corner. But if we did win this game, I don't care what the nuances are, what the things that you want to say, they were this or they were that or they were rubbish. No, to come here and win will be a big step forward for us, because we haven't gone on the road well in Europe. It's a fact. It's a fact. What are we, 1 win in 9? And I say even on the road in Europe, even at home in Europe, guys, it hasn't been the best. So realistically, we have to look at ourselves and say, we have to take baby steps. Do you know what I mean? We're going to have to take baby steps. It's all good saying where we want to get to, but right now it's about baby steps. It's about the short term. And being able to beat Fenerbahce in their own backyard, considering, let's be honest, there's going to be Fred and Amrabat in there, and Szymanski. I can't remember the other centre mid's name. He was in the presser. It'll probably be them three. I looked at their last game. They played like a 4-1-4-1. Tadic on the right-hand side, Dzeko up front. And if they go with something similar, well, Jose might have something up his sleeve. If they go with something similar, listen, we're going to have an answer for that. Do you know what I mean? Especially if St. Maximum comes in on that left-hand side. So you've got Tadic on the right, who you know how well he can keep the ball. Erik ten Hag knows all about him. You've got potentially St. Maximum on the left. And then you've got Fred buzzing about in midfield doing a madness. And Amrabat just holding in front of the back four, mate. Yeah? With Edin Dzeko, arch nemesis, Manchester City, up front. Do you know what I mean? Like, we have to get serious here. This is a tough game. They've got some mandem. Do you know what I mean? It's as simple as that. So I am looking forward to the atmosphere, though. I got straight off the plane, and I had to come straight here. It's about an hour away from the airport, and I'm enjoying it so far, man. The weather's nice. It's not baking hot. It's just a nice little 17, 18 degrees. And this basically is my match preview, but not. This is just, it's kind of, we just need to start getting out the content. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I feel kind of proud, mate. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, because it's a full circle moment. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, obviously what we do is like top quality. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, and normally Josh would be here by my side, etc., etc. But the reason why I'm proud is because it doesn't matter what the barrier is. Yeah, sometimes obviously you can't make it, but just go back to basics, mate. Could have just said, you know what? Josh, you're not there. And Has obviously come Porto with me. You saw him as well. Passport ran out. What's wrong with these guys with their passports running out? Because to come Turkey, apparently you need 6 months, mate. You know what I mean? Not free. You know what I mean? You need 6 months. So anyway, but yeah, so no one's available to come. But we could have just gone, you know what? We'll just do it from the studio. We'll just be at home. You know me, man. I like to be out in the field. I like to give you guys as best content as we can. I like to go the extra mile, even if it looks mad. Yeah, I've just done a pretty 6.5 minute recording. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you lot. Beginning might not even be there. Do you know what I mean? The beginning might not even be there. But yeah, make sure you lot hit up a like, man, for just even being here. Yeah, alone, Lone Ranger Fleck. Yeah, Fleckroy. Remember I told you lot already. Remember? Well, actually, no. You got to watch the vlog. No spoilers. No spoilers. This is gonna go out as a standalone video. But you know what? Just having the freedom to just come out, operate how we want to operate, being on a solo mission as well. I'm looking at it and I'm like, you know what? I could get used to this. Yo, Josh, what are you saying? Listen, my arms are already hurting. They're not wrong. They're not wrong, because I got to hold. I'm doing madness. I got to hold the mic in this, selfie stick in the other. Yeah, move around like that. But guess what? Ain't gonna stop. So if we get some big interviews or we do some stuff, all the content's gonna be like this, all on the front-facing iPhone. If anything, it's an inspiration to content creators. Yeah, because you don't need all the fancy camera. Look at my man down here. Got the proper thing. Fenerbahce media team probably got the 74 to 200. Is that what it is, Josh? 24 to 200 Flecknology, whatever. Big boy lens, bare zoom and that. Me, iPhone 14 Pro Max. Yeah, maximum effort, maximum output.
Look at that. Maximum effort, maximum output. Flex doing his thing there. He is so proud of himself as well. He is so proud of himself. A big up to him. We've also actually going to be talking about Christian Eriksen, because Flex, of course, being out there, he was in the Jose press conference. He was also in the Manchester United press conference last night as well with Erik ten Hag and Christian Eriksen. And Flex did get to ask Christian Eriksen a question about his recent form playing for Manchester United, the tactics as well. Some interesting answers here from Eriksen, and some interesting looks from Erik ten Hag when it came to tactics and things of that nature. Take a look at what Flex asked and Eriksen's response.
Good to see you. In your first season under Erik ten Hag, you played so many games in that starting midfield at Manchester United, and in the second season, not so much so. This season, you're starting to get some great form. You've scored some good goals. You've been contributing to the team really well. What have you put that down to, and how happy are you to now be playing again in the Manchester United midfield?
No, yeah, I think every season is different. I think some seasons you play, some seasons you don't, and obviously with the injuries I had, was a bit in and out at the time in the last 2 seasons, but I've always been available when I'm fit. Of course, like you said, I enjoy playing for United in midfield, definitely, of course. As a player, I want to play as much as possible, but in the end it is a manager who takes the decisions on who's playing, and you do your best when you can.
And how about how difficult it is, depending on what tactical setup we've had? So on the weekend we're in a 4-4-2. We like to deploy a 4-2-3-1. For you, do you feel you're best as a 6, as a number 10, as a number 8? Where are you most comfortable in that midfield?
First, you know our tactics, or what two? Yeah, like it. I think for me it doesn't matter what system you're playing. I think every game is different. I think every game you're gonna see a so-called 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2, 4-5-1. You're gonna see all of it. I think in times on the game and in the game, but I'm just happy where the ball is.
He knows the tactics. Ooh. You could see Eric's face, couldn't you? You could see it in Eric's face. Very, very, very stern look. It's funny, he didn't really answer that part of the question, to be fair. But the first part was very interesting, asking him about, his recent form, and he says, classic answer. I like playing in midfield for Manchester United, etc., etc. Bear in mind, don't say the Flex doesn't ask the hard questions as well, because that was not bad. But the interesting thing about Christian Eriksen so far this season for United is that he's been Manchester United's probably most consistent midfielder. Now, that's a low bar, obviously, because our midfield's been pretty non-existent, hasn't it, so far this season? But nobody would have predicted that. Nobody would have thought that would be the case. Nobody would have predicted that was going to happen, considering that when we were speaking of Amrabat earlier on, talking about in the summer which players are going to be leaving, which players are going to be staying, Christian Eriksen's name was one of those ones which go, Eriksen will probably go. I mean, he's got a year left on his contract. He was a free anyway. We've kind of got good value for money in a time in which Manchester United haven't got good value for money when it comes to their signings. You could certainly say with Eriksen, have got good value for money because he was a free, even though there's no such thing as a free transfer. But you get my point. And what we have kind of seen so far from him this season is, the Eriksen that we kind of saw-ish a couple of seasons ago when he first came in. I mean, when he first came in, it was a revelation. Was it? Siren. I tell you what, that's a rare one. Double siren. Not just one, a double siren in the chat. That is a special one, right? Put that sirens in the chat. That is a special one. That's not bad. Usually there's one. Two at the same time. 2 sirens in the chat. Not bad. Double siren. Double siren in the chat. Yeah. Special moment, that. Right down. It's like when you pick up a 4-leaf clover, or you get you see a double rainbow. You go, tell you what, that's good. That's not bad. Write that one down. Right time, and make a note of the time as well. 9:40, Thursday, 24th October. Double siren. Nice. Rare moment, as Lil Yo-Yo says right there. Rare moment on the channel. This is madness. That's a triple siren. That's a seriously, what's going on? But still, triple siren. Triple siren. I'm waiting for a fourth one now. No, but maybe not. I didn't think Flex's question was that bad. Triple siren settings. Tell you what. So that's the full. How many stars on that is on like GTA? That's every single one, isn't it? That's every single one, surely. As course, it's all going off. Yeah, it is. Where was I? Oh yeah, Eriksen. Eriksen. Yeah, with Eriksen, his story is remarkable, isn't it? Tabra says 6 stars. I mean, I'm getting very distracted now. That SWAT team out. Leo says at least 4 stars. Got to be something like that. The show said no. It's a light 3-star. No SWAT team or tanks. Maybe one of those. But yes, with Eriksen, focus on. You can do this. You can do this. With Eriksen, yeah, he has been our most consistent midfielder. And the thing is with him, is it's not as if he's not good, or technically, but arguably technically still one of our best midfielders, one of our better midfielders. It's just the fact that he's older, legs are kind of gone, and, it's difficult to kind of build moving forward with him. But when you do see him play, and you see how he can pass the ball, how he's comfortable on the ball, in a team that really can't pass, by the way, as well. How often do we watch United play and go, these guys can't even pass the ball 5 yards? Like, I mean, and previously that would have been like an exaggeration when you go, this team cannot do two or three passes together. Literally, a lot of the time, the Man United team cannot do that. So when Eriksen comes in and he can put his foot on the ball, he has just a composure which so many of the United players don't have. He does stand out. I guess going back to recruitment, the concern could be that every player midfielder we've signed since Eriksen doesn't have that ability to pass the ball at all. But he still is probably one of our best technical midfielders. It's just the fact that, again, can you build on that? His first season at United, he was a revelation. I remember when we beat, was it Arsenal in the first season at Old Trafford? And I think he might have got man of the match that day or something. And he did the interview with Sky afterwards, and he was like, yeah, it's a lovely day out, and because he's got that composure, that ability just, again, to pass it nicely, not mess up a 5-yard pass. And when he gets, what I like of him when he is a bit further forward, is he doesn't force things or he doesn't rush things. And that's sometimes when you get into the territory of the Bruno Fernandes, isn't it? Because Bruno, sometimes when he gets into that sort of final pass or pass before the pass, Bruno can rush things or he can try and force things, and it's not necessarily required. Whereas Eriksen's the complete opposite of that, where he will take that extra half second. He's always scanning, he's always looking, and he's always composed. As far as tonight, you would probably think, at least I think anyway, he'll probably end up in the 10 position. I mean, just like Flex, I know the tactics apparently. But I think if it was tonight, I don't think there'll be a huge amount of changes from the weekend. So I think you'll probably have Ugarte come in, even though apparently he's completely written off and he's completely terrible, according to some already. And Eriksen probably end up in the 10. Not that it would have any harm for Bruno. I mean, we're not going to go to Sunday, are we? And then it's going to be like, Bruno's dropped because Eriksen's still in the 10. I mean, it maybe there's an unbelievable performance tonight. Something serious going on outside, I think. something serious, by the way. Stars have gone up. Stars have gone up. What we need now, by the way, seriously, at this point, we need to get stars on here. I literally went, do you know how mad this is? I know the tactics as well, and it happened. The Flex said the thing about, the tactics, sirens. I went, I know the tactics, sirens. Now let's try something here. Let's try something. If I once again say about the tactics, do we get another one? It worked. It actually worked. It actually worked. It's not even soundboard. I'm not touching soundboard. It worked. It actually worked. It's fucking scary, that, isn't it? That is. It worked. It really worked. I don't know where to. I'm all over the place. I thought I set up that screen. We're all over the place. I should actually have that screen set up. Why isn't that screen set up? There you go. Right. I nearly vanished for a second there as well. What a morning. What a morning show this is. There you go. That's what I wanted to do. Oh, and they're all rubbish. Forget it. Where are we at? As someone says, Maddie says the place is bugged. Ness says Owen is rattled. Yeah. I'm just thinking about how often, because usually I'd be on when it's a 2-person show, I have the ability to mute. I have the ability to mute, so I could actually, you wouldn't have heard that. But yeah, my God, what a show. G41 says Owen's getting swatted. Imagine that would be a good morning show. Well, I wouldn't recommend it if that's the case. As far as this evening, I'll quickly get back on to what I was talking about. As far as this evening, like I said earlier on, I am looking forward to the game if I make it. Apparently, I am looking forward to the game. I don't know if it's going to be as dramatic as the Porto stuff. I mean, the thing is, I can't, to be honest, I probably shouldn't say that actually. Not because apparently my life's in danger where I am, but I probably shouldn't say that because that game that we saw against Porto has happened like so many times, hasn't it? When we go up 2-0 and, or we go got a few goals ahead, they come back. I mean, if the Porto game was a one-off, and you go, well, that was just an unbelievable get. What amazing game for the neutral. You go, fair enough. But we've seen that happen several times, haven't we? I mentioned going into it, if it's a draw or even if it's a loss, I'm probably not going to have the same reaction that I did after the Porto one. The reason I was so annoyed with the Porto one is because we threw it away. If you'd have told me going into that game, you'll have a draw, I'd go, all right, fair enough. But it was the manner of which we were 2-0 up and we just completely threw the game away. And for a large portion of it, we were just horrible. We were absolutely horrible in that game. Whereas if it was like, a 1-1 or a 2-2 coming out of it, I'd been like, it's not the worst result in the world. It's kind of the same with this one, in all honesty. If it's a draw, it's a loss. It's not the end of the world. Having seen, watching some of the Champions League games over the last couple of days and seeing the table for what it is at the moment. I thought I had another one. For seeing the Champions League games for what it is at the moment, it's not about where you are on the table at the moment, is it? It's not about where you are on the table. It's about just getting through to the next stage. Particularly as well when it comes to, the playoff games and all that kind of stuff. You want to avoid that, but I don't know where you finish and say that top 8. That doesn't determine. That just means you'll go up against a playoff side, right, through the next round. So yeah, you want to get yourself a better draw, but in that top 8, it doesn't really matter where you finish. So I don't know. So anyway, guys, a reminder: KG, that comedian, and myself, hopefully. We'll be on the stream later. I'll be live at 6. Hopefully, it will have quieted down here in Guantanamo Bay at that point, or Alcatraz, where we're currently streaming from, and we'll have some fun. If not, it's gonna be a heck of a show, isn't it? Anyway, well, I better go because I've got to go investigate, apparently, this crime scene I'm about to walk outside to in a bit. Anyway, guys, click the like button, be sure to subscribe. I'll see you later. As Madison says, gonna go say hi to the penguin. Peace.